Hello everyone, I am Terry Candlestick and welcome back to Echo, Route 65, where we are embarking on Carl's route. I backed up just so we could hear some more of those really good sound effects they put into this. I'm actually really surprised. I mean, the Echo team has done really well with their story so far, and I'm impressed with like some of the sound effects, and I'm like a sound guy. Well, not a sound guy, but I like experiencing the sounds and things. I step off the bus beside Carl and the door is shut behind me. Karen heading back toward the freeway. It gets dark so much earlier now that summer is over. Echo isn't exactly a major township. The area is deemed a census-designated place, so we don't get streetlights. Carl watches the bus fade off into the distance before pulling out his phone. I can't wait until I get my own car and license. He starts texting. Letting my parents know that you're coming over. We should troll around on that 3D virtual chat game again tonight. I spent some money and got myself this big luchador avatar. Except I gave him big old breasts. He's called Maria. He looks at me with a smirk before turning and walking. How much did you spend? I follow, pulling out my own phone. Was texting my aunt. Listen to you. I don't know. I was just grabbing what I needed. $15 maybe? Oh. That's a lot for one of those kind of games. Especially just for clothing. Well, like, the luchador mask I wanted was one of the premium items, so it costed the most. Everything else was dirt cheap. So, what's up, Flynn? I'm at the bus stop on Elizabeth Street. Every single girl in that game uses the same hair. The long, curly blonde one that costs like $1. I think Jazz is in a shit place right now. She doesn't miss school ever, and Jeremy was saying weird shit about her at lunch. At least they say they're girls. I'm just trying to be unique. Otherwise, what's the point? It is a social role-playing game. Why risk getting ignored? I'm trying to keep away from home right now. I might stop by and check up on her. I, actually have another account with a character that is more normal looking. I made him after you left last time. I was going to after work. Her dirt parents have been cunty as of late. You can if you want, but doubt your pansy-ass self can handle Jer if he's there. He's like this big primate-looking dude with burn scars everywhere and this kinda albino-y face. I don't care if him and Clint are there. I had the idea for the character sort of based off a dream I had once. Look, I don't know if I'm supposed to tell you this, but Leo's going to this party thing tonight. You should too. Or not, I don't care. Anyway, I went to a lot of the in-game hotspots at first. A lot of the stuff you and I saw when we were messing around. A party? Not an Echo, right? What is it for? The election? It is sort of like you said, that most of the people there are just middle-aged housewives who can barely type a sentence. It's for Day of the Dead. That's today. Bunch of jocks and townie types are gonna be there. Route 65 at Parsons Manufacturing. But then I sort of went off-grid. I guess you'd call it. Like, the spots that aren't advertised on the destination finder. I started finding a lot of weird shit. Like, weirder than the shit we were making, ironically, yeah? Leo didn't mention it when I saw him. You going? There were these places which looked like more real-life houses, not the usual fantasy, exotic stuff. Just people living in virtual families in these boring-ass looking homes, complete with framed photos of screenshots of their characters. I got the impression that a lot of them were like, foreign. I just said I'll be working, and when I get off I'm heading to Jasmine's. Fucking deduce, school paperboy. Walked into this one flat with those 2 horse ladies in it. They had decorations with Middle Eastern words everywhere, but they seemed normal enough. They had a TV item which just displayed a slideshow of photoshopped photos of them and a baby. I was just curious. Fuck you. When I started exploring the house, I ended up walking into this nursery and they got really pissy. I thought about trolling, you know, and writing, "I eat the baby!" and hopping up and down on the crib, but I don't know. It just felt like this weird mix of awkward and sad. Chase? Are you listening? Carl was standing in front of me with a concerned expression on his face. It takes me a moment to respond. Yeah, just texting Flynn. He's actually responding to you? Yeah, I know. I look up the street, Carl's house sitting in its amber glowing glory atop the hill slope. Apparently there's a party happening tonight. Carl raises an inquisitive brow. Like, here? Or in general? I'm not sure what you mean by in general, but yeah, around here. It's for Day of the Dead. Leo, and I think maybe Flynn, got invited. What? They didn't mention it to me at all. And I asked them to their faces if they had any plans. I shook. Flynn made it sound like it was mainly just Peyton people coming out here. Yeah, but it's weird they wouldn't mention that. That sounds about like the most exciting thing that will happen around here for months. Carl looks off to the side, shifting his posture some. I'd rather just stay home and play Virtue with you, anyway. But seriously, what the fuck? The idea that 2 of our closest friends were keeping this a secret did make me feel pretty shitty. On top of all the other sensations of general shittiness I feel right now. It's at the Parsons Manufacturing Building, you know, off Route 65. That's sort of in the ass end of nowhere for a party. Maybe it is like a rave or something? I shrug again. I think we should go. Carl blinks, his expression akin to as if I just asked to rub his horns. Dude? He lets out a little huff, rubbing the back of his head. First of all, we weren't invited. Second, it's the middle of nowhere. Third, isn't Day of the Dead for like... He pulls his paw away from his beanie long enough to swirl it around in gesticulation as he tries to phrase this right. Latin folk? My blood's as apple pie as it gets, dude. Alright, first off, Leo is there, so I don't see him not getting us in. Though it was weird he didn't invite us in the first place. Second, we live in the middle of nowhere. Anything local happening is technically in the middle of nowhere. Which still doesn't make it any more safe. Third, well, I don't know. I assume nothing too culturally sensitive is taking place in an abandoned factory. Which won't save us from sticking out like a sore thumb. Carl exhales through flared nostrils, lolling his head up as if being throttled by how much of a bad idea this is. Dude. He looks back down at me, a taut frown upon his muzzle. I don't know. I guess I'm kinda curious. Worst case, we stop in, smack Leo, and then make like Flynn's fetish and scat. Best case, we stop in, smack Leo, and they have food. I'd rip your tail off for a cheese quesadilla right now. Don't do that. My phone buzzes in my grip. You're welcome. I got to go. Try not to suck too much cock on your way there. So it begins. That's good advice from Flynn. I don't know if you're gonna hold out the whole way through. Glancing over with a start, I realize that Carl is leering over my shoulder, squinting at my phone. Christ! I exhale, turning my phone screen off. Yeah, I'll try my best. Carl lets out a brief, breathy bit of laughter before pulling out his phone. Lying to your parents' time? Yep, your fault too. What should I say? What should he say? Hanging out at my place? I don't want to call my parents. Hanging out at Leo's? That might work, but... Well, do they know these two? I mean, either of these. Working on an art project might be nice. Tell the truth. I don't tell the truth. I mean, they're probably not home anyway, so... Well, you know, they are best friends, so I'm going to say hanging out at my house. Before we go, though, I wanted to check up on Jazz. I see Carl give me a bit of an inquisitive look, as if he isn't sure whether to protest this decision or not. It's on the way, sort of. And she wasn't at school today. Flynn told me that her parents have been worse as of late. Didn't know they could get much worse, dude. I know I may as well be the prep here, but they're like the definition of trailer trash. He pauses, then quickly adds, not Jazz though. I nod some to the affirmative, then begin heading offward. I can see Carl looking a bit longingly toward his bedroom window, the awkward glow of his computer monitor visible from within. You can see it right there. I have to admit that I also am kind of longing for some time on my laptop, though as I remember my situation from this morning, my heart sinks. My laptop's probably been taken from me, and my parents probably are going through all my files and internet history. My fists clench in inward cringe. I just need to try not to think about it. Crossing over into Jasmine's neighborhood, the surface of the road shifts from asphalt to dirt. Whilst Echo's pavement is laden with alligator cracks and crumbling edges, the dirt road looks even worse. Each step we take kicks up a plume of dust, the sediment covering the road's top loose and sand-like. The clopping of Carl's hooves has been muffled, though, making everything seem sort of tranquil. Which is odd, because hanging out with Carl is usually not something I'd consider a tranquil experience. Maybe the term better for it is eerie. I can see the fitted masonry of the abandoned school building up ahead at the bend, the grass around it pale and dormant in the November chill. There aren't too many other buildings around besides it, though a few junked cars, cinder blocks, and steel barrels can be seen beside the road. Flynn calls this part of Echo Tetanus Alley. Dude, I usually don't even brave coming around here in the daytime. This is kind of... He gestures about with a limp flail instead of finishing the sentence. This is clearly out of his comfort zone, though I honestly think anything outside Carl's bedroom could be considered as such. You've never walked at Jasmine's house at night? Never, without, like, Leo or something. I nod. I get it. If someone comes running at me with a syringe, I'm using you as a meat shield. You smoke meth. You don't inject it. If somebody comes running at me with a meth pipe, I'm using you as a meat shield. I let out a half-amused grunt, keeping wary of my surroundings. There's no wind, so the mesquite and sagebrush are static still. We walk quietly for a bit, but as we reach the schoolhouse, Carl breaches the silence. People around here hate me, dude. I turn to look at him, the ram's face devoid of expression, and his gaze distant. Well, Jeremy and Clan are just vocal about it. The rest just hate everybody, I think. No, like... You heard what Karen was saying, right? She sounded like there was some collective... simmering spite under the surface. Well, that's just... Don't say that's just Karen, because I hear it in other places too, dude. You're a spoiled, fat, rich kid. That's an easy target. My parents sell fucking ice cream. How could you hate the ice cream family? The ram waves his arms about before letting them flop ragdoll-like at his sides. I pause, hesitating on my response for a moment. Then it comes to me. Maybe they're just intolerant. I wait a beat. Lactose intolerant. Carl rolls his head back and lets out a surprisingly loud groan. Blinking, I hold up a finger to my muzzle. Shh. You're being noisy. I see the ram visibly recoil, increasingly self-aware. He sinks back into himself, dipping his paws into his pockets. Carl is really different when he talks to me in comparison to when he's at school around others. He's all quiet and such at lunch, or in between classes. But if it's just us hanging out, he can be kind of a spaz. It's because of your ancestors, right? The town founder and whatnot? Yeah. He answers abruptly, looking sidelong. I think my scolding may have upset him. You know, it's a wonder that is such a thing around here. Sodomy and mass murder has a way of sticking around. Which one's worse, right? I say that a bit more of a forced, playful tone than I intended. Carl looks over at me, then shrugs. Depends on who you ask. I look back at the abandoned school. Something about it always gave me a weird feeling. Carl and I haven't been inside since 4th grade, now that I can think about it. We arrive outside Jasmine's house, the square stucco structure dwarfed by the 3-story school next door. I can hear some scraping noises coming from inside, like wooden dining chairs pushed across tile floor. As I walk toward the door, I see Carl stop out of the corner of my eye. Looking back, I see he's frozen in place, his green eyes flicking from the entryway to me. You know they don't like me, dude. Can you handle this? I sigh, depending it isn't worth arguing over. He's kinda right, too, I guess. You going home? No, I'm just gonna chill out here. He leans back a bit, teetering on the edge of the road and the little bit of gravel in front of the house. You look real inconspicuous, man. Thanks. Do you know what inconspicuous means? Well endowed? Jesus. I throw up my hands and make my way to the door, knocking 3 times. Carl, meanwhile, ambles off in the direction of the old school, out of sight. The skidding inside stops. Within a couple seconds, the door flings open outward, so I'm nearly knocked on my ass. I'm instantly greeted by the smell of stale beer and the sound of football with the volume up too high. The sight of errant trash bags and food containers scattered about tangerine shag carpet just completes the mood, really. A stout, fat Finnick fox stands before me, his eyes wide. He stares. Though, without meeting my gaze, it's as if he's looking right through me. Overall, Jasmine's dad looks like hell. He blinks some and refocuses somewhat, narrowing his eyes at me and dusting off his shirt. Joyce, he rumbles. Hey, yeah, is Jas home? Inside, I see a head peek from around the corner, the fur too splotchy to be Jasmine's. Jeremy. Fuck off, Chase. His voice is laden with derisive contempt. Jasmine's dad doesn't even react. It's bizarre how Jeremy never seems to get disciplined. She's in her room. That chore she ain't done yet, so she can't go out and, lie. He steps out of the way and moves back to the kitchen, where a plate of convenience store nachos and cheese sits. He reaches down to grab a chip, but ends up just sticking his paw into the hot melted cheese. The old fox looks more confused than anything, his brow furrowed. 3 seconds pass before he actually grabs the chip. Meanwhile, Jeremy is still hard-eyeing me from over the couch cushion. I realize now that he's only in his underwear, tighty-whities too. With that, I fast-walk my way to the end of the hall, stepping over some nasty-looking stains. I'm guessing Jasmine's mom is in the bathroom, so I give that a wide berth as well. As I'm about to turn and knock on Jazz's door, I realize that it's completely open, the door taken off the hinges and resting against the wall nearby. Awkwardly, I knock on the wooden frame and clear my throat. Jazz? Chase. She states my name with a matter-of-fact tone. I take that as a all good to enter and step inside. Her room is rather cramped, adorned with an old metal frame single bed, a cedar desk, and the house's hot water heater. A stack of books and manga completely fills the space under her bed, which has some sort of makeshift book nook. Her desk is surprisingly neat, and I recognize a biology textbook from school open on top. Everything is fairly tidy, neat, and organized, but it still seems somewhat cozy. It is girly as all hell, truly, but it seems like a sanctuary in contrast to the rest of the house, even with the constant rumble of the hot water heater. Jasmine is turned away from me, sorting something in her backpack. I see her rub her face. Your, door moved. Not on its own. What do you need? After a sufficient amount of face rubbing, she turns to face me, a curious yet expectant look in her eyes. She almost looks as if she's sizing me up, but I think that's just the way her face is. You weren't at school today, and I just wanted to check up on you and whatnot. She turns, moving close to her biology book on the desk and sliding it into her backpack. Well, that's nice of you. Her tone is abrupt, and it leaves me feeling sort of awkward and foolish. I guess? Hey, can I borrow your cell phone for a second? I hesitate. For what? Don't worry, I'm not going to go through your text messages or browsing history. I just need to message someone. I slowly pull my phone from my pocket, though I'm definitely a little wary of handing it over. That doesn't stop Jasmine from turning hastily and plucking it from my fingertips. Sly Fox. She swipes through and I hear the telltale click-clacking of the touch keys. Who are you texting? You don't worry about that, and I won't worry about this recently saved images button on here. Jazz. She narrows her gaze at something, the white light from the device illuminating her features. You can have a seat if you'd like. I want to know what's going on. Like in general, or regarding you not being at school today and your door being absent? It isn't absent, Chase. It's just against the wall outside. I'm starting to actually get angry at this point. If you don't want to talk about it, then just say you don't want to talk about it. Quit trying to make me look stupid for caring. Her blue eyes flick from the screen to me for a brief moment, then back down again. There's nothing to talk about. Nothing out of the ordinary around here. Just an average day on Cloud 9. I see her mash her thumb in rapid succession against what looks like the delete button, and then she begins to type again. How are you doing, though? I feel my raised jowls go loose at the question. She looks up from my phone, resting it face down on her thigh as she awaits my answer. Her shift to concern is a little jarring, though this is what I came for, really, isn't it? As much as I would hate to admit it, her lack of domestic bliss is such a common thing at this point. It's become a bit of a trite topic. It's horrible here, but everybody knows that, especially Jazz. I guess she doesn't need anyone reminding her of that. I'm fine. She stares at me for a good 4 seconds before speaking. I can tell you're not. I know you have your psychotherapist to help you deal with your hallucinations and sleep paralysis. But you should feel free to talk to her about other problems in your life, especially if you are unwilling to speak to your friends about them. I found that building up lots of negative emotions like this tends to attract more bad things. You know what I mean. I stiffen with a startle as I hear knocking on the window. Glancing over, I see 2 large pairs of horns silhouetted against the lower edge of the window pane. Jazz looks to have been clutching her legs tightly, though at seeing what I do, she relaxes as well. Carl wanted to wait outside. I understand. Yeah. I look at the carpet between my feet, then slowly rise to a stand. Leo's apparently at some party on Route 65. He didn't tell me about it. Yeah, apparently he kept it a secret from us. We're gonna go check it out. Would you like to come? I see her knead her knuckles against the comforter, her tongue pressed against her 2 front teeth. I wouldn't be able to get away for long, Chase. For now, it's better if I stay put. She reaches down, typing a few more things into my phone before handing it back to me. I see the flash of messenger history deleted upon my screen for a split second before it goes back to the usual background. Looking down at her, I raise my eyebrows slightly. Thanks. I hope you get your door back. I will. One way or another. She nods politely and I make my exit. As I'm walking through the hall, I spy Jasmine's father still hunched over his nachos. Jeremy, meanwhile, is still on the couch, which I'm realizing is also his bed. He scowls at me as he catches me looking, the fox making a crude gesture before rolling over toward the television. I think he mutters another "fuck off," but I'm not really listening. I'm honestly surprised Carl accepted going along to this party. His social anxiety is pretty bad at school. Maybe it's just that kind of night. I walk alongside him, still milling over what Jasmine had said. Can't wait till I get my license and car. I mentioned that already, yeah? Yes. Route 65 is like 3 miles away. You can get your fetlocks toned and ready for the dance floor, though. I see Carl's posture stiffen some at that prospect, his bright green eyes looking at the asphalt beneath us. You don't actually think there is gonna be dancing, is there? Like the movies and shit? I shrug some. Something I've been doing a lot this night. Growing up in a town with less than 60 people has made what seems like a conventional teenage experience on TV seem utterly foreign. The closest our group of friends had to such were birthday parties with just us 6 and our folks. Leo's dad let us drink a can of beer once. I always imagined high school parties were just a bunch of kids sitting on couches and smoking weed. But this is Echo, so... Meth? Do you think Leo would go to a party where everyone smoked meth? I didn't think Leo would go to a party and not tell us. I pause, dipping my paws into my pockets. I wonder if Leo thinks we're not cool. Carl actually turns to look at me, then quickly averts his gaze to the ground. Dude. I'd think that after all the shit we've been through, that wouldn't matter. The serious statement from him takes me off guard, and I feel instantly guilty for broaching that topic. I nod solemnly, another long pause drifting between us. Yeah. Carl slows to a stop, resting his paws upon his knees, his large-backed form hunched over. He groans once, his breathing a bit ragged. I stop as well, moving on over to the ram's side. You alright, dude? Yeah. We've been walking forever. Could use like a bench or something. I'm sure there will be chairs at the party. Yeah, sticky sex ones probably. I smirk. I'm sure you'll get used to the scene in no time. We're gonna show up and it'll just be Leo alone in a gimp mask with a warehouse full of rubber ducks. Sounds like a dream I had once. He lets out a sort of raspy laugh, pushing himself back upright again. I give his side a little rough nudge and we begin walking once more. The road here is much better maintained than most of Echo's on account of it being a state route. Still, it doesn't get much usage. I think Flynn told me once that it was part of the early highway system that was repurposed in the 90s. The interstate freeway about 30 miles to our east gets most of the traffic this road used to. If you want to get to any major city, you take the interstate. There's little reason beyond sightseeing to take the slow highway. I never really understood the appeal of people that do stuff like that. set their GPS to avoid freeways for the scenic stuff. Everything on these long highway stretches has been mostly shuttered, without a gas station for 100 miles. It's just decay, entropy, and I don't get why anyone would want to be reminded of it for fun. I mean, I live in the middle of it, so maybe that's why it doesn't seem so exotic, enticing, or southwestern Gothic. Failing local economies and being trapped in the midst of them just has a way of sucking the fun out of things. Walking along now, the remnants of the bygone highway era still dot the landscape. To our right, there's an abandoned trailer park. Most of it is empty besides the crumbling admin building and one or two remaining trailers. They're all graffitied to high hell, though. It's funny how spray-painted initials crop up on deserted structures seemingly at the same rate rust and dust take over. Sydney and Flynn convinced me to tag an outhouse once when I was 10. The end result didn't look anything near as good as the bold yet indecipherable text that adorns the outer wall of the chipped 70s era RV beside me. I ended up feeling so guilty I told my mom. We went back to the outhouse after dark with soap and scrubbing stuff and managed to get it all off. The next day, Cindy and Flynn were confused as to where my tag went. I told them I didn't know what they were talking about. My mom thought that was funny. At the thought of Mom, I roused from my brooding, glancing sidelong at Carl. He has a dull, vacant look on his face, his mind clearly elsewhere. I feel a cold sweat take me and a weird lurching in my stomach. Christ, can I actually do this? Come out to him in the middle of the night, in the middle of nowhere. I'm going to be stuck in this town for at least 3 more years. Then I'm free, hopefully. If this goes badly, more badly than it already has, I just have to stick it out until college. Hey, Carl? The words leave my throat with a forced-sounding utterance, surprising myself. The ram slowly blinks back into reality, then responds. Yeah? So, something kinda messed up happened this morning? I see the flicker of his eyes shift toward my direction. This, have to do with what Karen was going off about? I wasn't gonna ask or nothing. So he had noticed after all. Sort of. Yeah. I see Carl shift awkwardly. He's never been the person I go to with the serious stuff. I can tell he's wondering why I'm breaking our mutual unspoken let's keep it light pact. That being said, I definitely have his full attention. Oh, okay. What's up? I see the outline of the Parsons building now, but we're still a pretty damn long ways away. So, I like guys. I can't really read his expression change in the dark, but it definitely did. Really? Yeah. Have since I went through puberty. Are you, like, sure? You're pretty down to earth. I mean, sort of an asshole at times, but yeah. Plain. I rubbed my temple, letting out a little grunt. You're making me feel better already. Hopefully not too good. Though, I doubt you're into boobs anyway. He grabs his pectorals, giving them a squeeze. Oh, well, you got a purty mouth. I cringe instantly at myself. Why the fuck would I say that? Fortunately, I see the glint of Carl's teeth and know that he is grinning. So, Flint's advice was actually relevant after all. Does he, know? No, you're the first person I've told. Oh, dude. It's pretty heavy. I tried to think up something to say, trying to be nonchalant as possible. I guess I'm trying to show Carl that I'm not really any different. Well, you're pretty heavy, so I thought you could handle it. He looks down at his gut, then back up again. Carl isn't really grotesquely overweight. His whole body is pretty proportionally large. Well, maybe not in height, but there's still a few years. Who knows? Maybe he'll turn out huge like Leo. Huh. What do your mom and pop think about it? They didn't know this morning. They caught me watching gay porn. Fuck, dude. I hear him exhale through his large nostrils. I make my parents knock. There's mutual agreement that it isn't good for either of us if they walk in on a jerk-off session. Though they're never usually home anyway. Yeah, that's nice. I see the ram's form rise and slump again. A shrug. I don't think my parents took it well, so this whole outing is keeping my mind off things. I'm sorry, dude. Really, yeah? I kinda cringe secondhand thinking about it, actually. A single car passes us by, the first one we've seen all night. We stop talking as it passes. I can feel the eyes of the driver upon us. We're definitely an odd sight. An otter and a ram in the middle of nowhere in the middle of the night. So, yeah. Does this mean I get to say the F word whenever I want, on account of my best friend being gay and stuff? I mean, as long as you don't turn into Flynn with it, then yeah, sure. That's like the best news I've heard all day. I can finally talk smack back properly to the 12-year-olds online. I snicker a little, and a silence falls between us. I'm not sure exactly what to say after all that. Carl seems a little less jokey too, his horns tilted down, so I know that he's staring at the road as he walks. It's getting noticeably chillier outside. The desert soil doesn't do a great job of retaining heat already, but it's much worse in the late fall and winter months. I cross my arms tight across my chest, envying those with thicker fur and pants instead of shorts. Peering ahead, I can see that our destination is still like a mile away. To my surprise, Carl breaks the silence, clearing his throat first. You know, I watch him from his side, not about to interrupt, even if he can't make the right words form right away. Sometimes, when I'm feeling bad, I sort of have this pretend. I see him look over at me, then he smiles, shaking his head rapidly. Nah. What? Go on. I can't say this. Lame as shit. I just told you I'm gay and got caught watching gay porn. What's lamer than that? That's not even lame. That's just shit luck and way too good headphones. They were the in-ear bud kind. Dangerous choice there, dude. Come on. Yeah. He grunts indignantly. Sometimes... He takes in a deep breath, clutching his paws together inside the front pocket of his hoodie. Ugh, fuck it. I have an imaginary girlfriend in my head and she chills me out. Wow. 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 Well, me. I have a good imagination. Or something, and it works out. Is she hot? Yeah, completely. Short, spiked blonde head fur, dark gray eyes, real athletic bodied, double D breasts, 2 foot long dick. She's amazing. What was that last one? She's amazing. Okay. You have one? I glance over and I see Carl looking at me expectantly. Are we just putting all our embarrassing shames out in the open here tonight? I did. I think for now, let's just do what normal grown-ups do and suppress the rest. I see Carl sort of smile awkwardly, then rather quickly look away. If you say so. I'm honestly astonished how quickly the tables turned in this confiding. Even in the dark, I can tell he's trying to act all nonchalant and uncaring, but he's visibly tense as hell. That imaginary girlfriend thing must mean a lot to him. He's playing it off with humor, but I've known him long enough to see through that. Hey. I see him flinch, looking over his shoulder toward me. Sup? You're not weird. He doesn't respond beyond faking an amused grunt. I take a deep breath, preparing to further delve into the deep real talk that this conversation is about to become. I was feeling lonely 2 months ago and posted a personal male-for-male ad on the Peyton List website. 18-year-old Otter, here looking for friend/mentor, or something was the tagline. I included a cropped and photoshopped picture of myself at the Peyton Rec Center pool, my face blurred. It was the time we went after we saw the Superwolf movie in that 3D theater place with you, Jazz and Leo. Since I went through puberty a couple years ago, I was pretty sure I could pass for 18 if my face was hidden. I was wrong. My post was taken down and I got a few emails from administrators asking all sorts of questions, including some kind of vague, threatening stuff. It just really hasn't been my best past few months. I see Carl bounce his knuckles together, taking all that information in. That's weird. Trying to find some mysterious fantasy stranger on the internet who will make everything right when I'm not even remotely old enough. Because I'm too much of a pussy to risk being seen as anything other than what I've always been seen as. I let out a puff of air, fidgeting some and feeling my heart thud heavy within my chest. That's scary as hell, dude. Another long silence. Her name is Danica. She's an otter. Has glasses and kind of crooked teeth, so she doesn't open her mouth when she smiles. She's really into video games, illustration, and like close, I guess. When I'm doing my drawing, she inspires me, sort of. Danica's like... what's the word for it? My muse? I'm nowhere even good enough to justify even having one. But she makes me want to do and make stuff. As opposed to... oh... nothing. Well, I'm sorry if I offended her if she's, well, present, but... it's probably healthier if you had a real girlfriend, but for now, yeah, I understand. Thram smiles sheepishly, the lights from the illuminated Parsons building close enough now that I can see he's biting his cheek. I guess same goes for you. With a real boyfriend, I mean. He lets out a short huff of air. Fuck. That's weird to say, not as a joke. But, seriously, thanks, dude. No problem, man.